Pretty good. I mean, you're aware I have my voice issue.
Yeah. So we talked before. It's been a long time. So that first conversation, you actually pointed me to a video or a film, rather, I should say, that you had worked on, and I feel like um, that film was really important for you to, it was really important that you made sure that I checked that out. And of course, I want to invite any plug that you would like. And you have the book too, Confessions of a CEO. And that's really the title that I see you use a lot. That's how I've gotten to know your work is through that title, The Confessions of a CEO. Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth. Find one thing to move your business forward today with conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen and follow and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach pages and groups. Dear Business Coach podcast, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. And
Elizabeth, this is a film, but the book uh, is, and we don't need to talk about that. The big book of small business earlier reading of life, but that isn't what is the news.
Visit the deals page, dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com/deals. Get your coupon codes there for all of the retailers who support the Dear Business Coach podcast and are giving you a special discount for being a listener here. You are listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker and expert guests. Yeah, so today I wanted to make sure I'm covering with you what is going on in your work, what is happening right now that I can actually pick your brain about, and I want to hear any backstory you want to share, and more importantly, what's going on with you right now.
Now your sound went out again.
So what I'm curious about is, what are you working on today? What is on your desk today?
Well, I do podcasts, and I am in any way sharing my message. I consult, but public speaking I can't do anymore. That and the film show is although through artificial intelligence, I have talked to medical device companies, and within 6 months, my former voice will be coming out rather than this voice. So I'm really excited about that. That will open up more opportunity. But
Wow.
I'm also enjoying life. We have a venture capital fund, and I enjoy granddaughters, etc. But the film is the main way my message is getting out.
Well, it was hard to pick out, you know, what clip or what section or what quote do I ask you about. And it is a full length movie. And there's no shortage of, you know, famous people. I mean, if viewers are looking for something impressive to take a look at, you have worked with so many people. And you know, right now we're looking at I think we even you too, Tom, you and I started actually meeting last year. So things are even different now than they were when I met you and I first looked at the film. So you obviously have a lot of wisdom to impart, and I don't want to give away the film, but why do you think it's still relevant right now? Here we are, April 2026.
But the concept in the film, which are how corporate America is boiling us and really very bad things are happening. But it is so slow and steady that it we don't feel it as much. But in the big food, big medical, big oil, big pharma, uh, even big cigarettes who have a new way with vaping that they're getting into. In every way, corporate America is they're giving less to charity. Their CEO to average worker ratio has skyrocketed from 10 to 1 40 years ago to 350 to 1 today. So it's customer service is down, employee satisfaction is down. But first, for your viewers, I, I want to thank you for having someone with a speech disability on your show.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I
My,
don't. I think that you had shared with me when we talked before that that was the case, and I did. You know, I didn't know that before we met for the first time, and I, of course, I'm obviously you have been on a whole bunch of media already, and so I mean that I didn't really have to think about it, you know, and obviously your material speaks for itself, but yeah, of course. And I feel honored to meet you, and I'm sure I could pick your brain about so many different things. And honestly, yeah, the first thing that comes to mind from looking at your film is thinking about all of these people that you've either worked with or alongside or come across, political leaders, corporate leaders, and you yourself are telling us now about your frame of reference right through that film. So that's part of it, right? So part of why you share a lot of the clips and insights from your background is to show your experience and the breadth of your exposure, right, to inside and outside. So where would you say your viewpoint, your frame of reference started to shape up, right? So where or when in your career path do you think you started to think about making this film? Were you the confessions of a CEO? We're talking about pay discrepancy. We're talking about you kind of going behind the scenes and showing us again, exposing us to what you know about how things work in the world, if you will, that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise access to know or see. And so that's because you have um, personal access from your
Right,
background and your career, and you've
right.
chosen to share a frame of reference on purpose. So somewhere along the line in your career you said, I need to take this message, I need to take I here's a message that I've been evolved time since you started doing media, since you've released the film. Is it still the core message that you thought you were setting out to share?
Well, there are multiple messages. Uh, it's what's happening with corporate America and why they are serving it. It's how to exist in a big corporation and gently make a difference in that organization and
Mm.
what they can do if they are not being heard, even if they use very subtle techniques. It's about how they're able to overcome their life and business challenges and how I did it and tips on how they're able to do it. So those are some of the, I've had many people say they've changed how they're focusing their life after seeing our film and how I was able to overcome bad behavior, uh, horrible things happening.
And you are speaking to people who are in leadership, right? Is that
Uh,
kind of
no,
the idea?
uh, great point. I'm speaking to both employees and everyday people and on the things I just said. I'm speaking to corporate leaders to help them see the folly of having to make that much money and how sharing it comes back to them in wonderful ways and how they can operate more consciously. So, yeah, it's a message to them in that way and employed in the way I mentioned prior to that. I think you're frozen.
Oh no. Okay. I
Jimmy.
think in the last couple of years over social media and television, I've seen um sort of this idea that that if you're of a certain wealth, you should or could give up some of your some of your wealth and for the sake of uh, specifically empowering other people's lives, being a philanthropist. And that is kind of the same attitude that your message says, but you're
Uh,
specifically talking to CEOs in a
yeah,
way that is to frame how they operate with
okay,
what they have to
that,
offer, maybe.
that's different than Elizabeth Warren trying to tax millionaires and give back to society. I'm talking about in a company,
Hmm.
why wouldn't it be healthier rather than making 350 times your average worker to utilize some of that to give bonuses to people, to have a profit sharing system, to maybe not have to lay off as many people. Uh, I mean, I made 12 times our average worker, and I was able to live very comfortably. I, I shouldn't sleep at night if I were making 350 times.
Hard time with that too. Now, some people would say, well, that's the market, right? Some people would say that's what we have to do to be competitive is offer that kind of financial reward in order to have the leadership uh, that we need to be in a competitive worldwide market. So I would think that, for example, potentially living in the United States or being connected with companies that have the kind of market share worldwide that starts or is housed in the United States and branches out. I mean, this is part of like why it's expensive to live here. It's complicated to live here. So how do we attract the right talent? And that would be financial compensation, right? A lot of the top executives that are in these huge American corporations are from all over the world. And what we try to do is, as American companies sometimes, is bring in world leaders and to keep the talent that we have here, right? Because I know that our talent can be also recruited elsewhere. And so if we're talking about these major brands and corporations that want and need a piece of the United States, if you will. You and I are in the United States, but we're talking about worldwide businesses. It affects everybody in the world, and so I am thinking, it does matter to keep really top talent so that we can engage in the market in a meaningful way. And so if you are talking about a leader who is potentially competing on a worldwide market, um,
You're muted. You're not muted.
someone in a competitive job market, if you will, if we're looking at it like that, would
Okay.
say, well, no.
Listen, the company can offer that, but if they're a good human being, they would say, hey, at the end of the year, I'm going to give half of my salary, convert it to bonuses for people or whatever. My point is, it doesn't make sense for a human being to have to be making that much money, having a giant yacht in the Mediterranean when other people are having trouble paying the rent.
Yeah.
And in their company. And you know what? If companies don't want to do that, that's fine. If leaders don't want to do that and they want to live that way, but my experience, the more you give, the more comes back to you. It's
Well,
that.
so when I'm looking at a brand or if I have like to say sometimes, I will choose a brand that I know has, given the choice, I want to buy something from a company who does profit sharing with their employees. I want to participate with companies who are, say, for example, employee owned. That's another thing that I see advertised sometimes when a company's employee owned. If you are doing these things to pay your employees properly and go above and beyond with other not incentives but covering, like you're suggesting, what it takes to live on planet Earth, and give actually a return or pay and profit sharing to the employees. I would love to know about that. I would love it if businesses who do that would advertise that more. That would be incredible. I would love to know more about who is doing this in the marketplace,
Uh, and, and, uh,
and how do I tell the owners that to
along, excuse me, along that line, I wrote an article in CEO World, WRLD, and said there needs to be a requirement that companies not only publish their financial results, but what is their CEO to average worker ratio?
huh?
what percent do they give to charity? What is their employee happiness ratio? What is their customer service ratio? But no one knows these things. They're hidden.
You're right. Well, you know what? That's not something I've investigated recently, but yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. So, and you're the expert and you wouldn't, right? I'm here to interview you, but based on my limited knowledge, yeah, I don't think that I have seen stats that are publishable that I can actually look at. So, um, and I think, in corporate finance class, that was all we did was talk about ratios. And no, we didn't talk about a percent given to charity exactly, or a customer service ratio that goes somewhere else. And I don't know who deals with the customer service ratio. That team, right? When you get to work in customer service, but not in publishable ratios like we see as investors. And that would be something really awesome to be able to see that. And
So,
would so if it's a standard, how would you go about making that like a standard? Update, update, update. Now you can get 10 free email issues when you sign up for email at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Discount codes and access to the VIP page, dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com.
so that is one of many of my uh, things that I talk about as I did the film. And there would have to be a, a group that starts that and have it spread. or Congress mandated that, hey, we want more uh, transparency in corporate America. So we are requiring that they publish those four ratios. It's either that or uh, companies begin doing that on their own.
Okay, so yeah, that's so there's different ways to do it. You know what? What if we think is their percent donated to charity, or here's what it could be, here's what we know about the ratio of the leadership pay to employee
You're,
up with. It
you're,
would be interesting to try to come up with that.
yeah, right.
Well, that's something that maybe I should add to my list of financial introspection tools.
Right.
What do you think would be maybe what would I start looking for first if I wanted to kind of find that out myself? I would have to go to published information about the CEO's salary, for example. That would have to be a stock owner to be able to see that.
Yeah, that would be one way. But it is not easy to find that stuff out. They don't,
Mm.
um, hardly anyone makes it available. Now, you're right. CEO pay of public companies is available. Very hard to find, but you can find it.
Hmm.
But no one relates that to the average worker. There needs to be a ratio that is public. So anyway, enough about that. That that is one of many of my causes.
Well, what I want to do is say again, the film is Confessions of a CEO, and I'm talking with Tom Gegax, and we actually are, we're talking about the film, and that is what you've told me a couple of times is that you made this film in order to share your message, and so I feel like one of the things that is helpful for so many people, including myself, is data, right? So one of the things we just talked about is being able to advocate for numbers being industry wide for us to access. And I think, what I don't know who you, other than regulation, like you said, Congress would have to actually be the one to make a law change so that that information is publishable. And I don't know how realistic that would be. But
Probably not. Probably. And you mentioned the film, uh, but we didn't say where that you see it. Uh,
okay. Hmm.
most people have Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah.
Uh, it's on there. And for sure, they go in the search, type in CEO. It's one of the first to come up. It has a 5-star rating and 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. So
Nice.
it is a very highly rated film. And
Yeah, well, you're right. We need to know. That's right. Thank you for reminding me. Amazon Prime is where you can see it, and that's Confessions of a CEO on Amazon Prime. So I actually have your the link. I've seen it, and then of course you want people to go there and see it. Now, do you want folks to connect with you also anywhere else that we should mention if I want to send you a message or an email?
well, if they want to visit our website,
Mhm.
there's the ability to leave me a message.
Oh, yeah,
Confessions of a CEO.com.
easy. Very good. Confessions of a CEO.com. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Great.
And some of the stars that are in the film are Deepak Chopra.
Buyer as an end user, and that's a lot of the times I do look for information, and I encourage companies to advertise any way that they have an edge. If there are leaders that are listening to this right now who know, hey, my company is someone who does this, that's what I do at work, is I profit share, or I make sure that my employees are part of the growth, literally financially, and I want to know that. So I like to say on the show that's important to me as a buyer, as a consumer. And so I hope that work like this, doing you coming on the Dear Business Coach podcast, I hope is a way that people learn and from the marketplace, are getting feedback. I hope leaders are getting feedback from the marketplace. I'm looking for this. We are looking for this. So I think this is something encourageable, to get to ask leaders to look at ways that they can share the things that they're doing for their teams. So, and I think that's valuable to the people who buy and pay for the products too. So, Confessions of a CEO, and that's on the website, but as well as on Prime Video, that's where you want to watch Confessions of a CEO. Tom Gegax, thank you for coming on the Dear Business Coach podcast today.
You're welcome, Elizabeth. Take care.
All right, we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now. You've been listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name is Elizabeth Walker, producer and host of the Dear Business Coach podcast. Music by Stones Mayo. Social media by Meenakshi Bensal. Follow and subscribe now. Thanks so much. You are a superstar.